You were sitting in your cabin, legs crossed, glasses pursed lazily on your nose as you scanned through the massive pile of documents spread out before you. Your brows were furrowed in frustration as your eyes flicked over the fine print, a deep sigh escaping your lips for the fifth time in 10 minutes. Seriously, this man must be Saren's distant cousin. You muttered under your breath, slamming the file shut for a second as you leaned back in your chair with an exasperated groan. The smooth surface of your desk offered no comfort. You narrowed your eyes at the clock. 2 hours, that's all the time you had. How could he do this to me? 2 hours for a file that needs at least five. You shot an annoyed glare at the stack of paperwork again. And he knows I'm working on his precious project, the Seoul Elite Tower expansion, the one that's going to cost billions. Needs delicate legal structuring, architectural review, investor coordination, and still he dumped this on me like I'm his personal doormat. You ran a hand through your hair, lips twisting in annoyance. The Seoul Elite Tower expansion wasn't just another project, it was his legacy project, the kind of empire building venture CEOs wrote memoirs about. And of course, he trusted no one but you to handle it. And instead of letting me focus, Mr. Ice Heart goes and hands me this garbage last minute. Can't he just give it to his little tail wagging secretary? Miss, I'll staple anything if it means here, look at me. You rolled your eyes so hard it nearly gave you a headache. With a dramatic flourish, you stood up, slapped the now finished file onto the desk, adjusted your pencil's curve, and strutted out of your cabin. A few brisk steps, and you were in front of his office. He took a deep breath and knocked twice on the sleek glass door. A faint coming followed almost instantly. As you pushed the door open, your eyes immediately landed on a familiar, nauseating sight. Kang Hyun, his favorite employee, or as you often referred to her in your head, the office lizard. Clinging on to Jungkook's attention like her life depended on it, always finding a way to be in his line of sight. Today, she was conveniently standing beside him, pretending to hand over a file, but clearly doing nothing except existing in his personal space. You resisted the urge to gag. With your signature confident smirk, you walked inside and held the file out to Jungkook. Without a word, he didn't even glance at you at first, just accepted the file and began flipping through the pages. His brows twitching with concentration, jaw set like always, cold, unreadable. Kang Han turned slightly, her expression as fake as the diamonds she wore around her neck. Oh, you finished that already? I mean, I know some people are okay with rushing and skipping quality. You gave her a slow, measured look like a queen staring down a peasant who dared to speak out of turn. Don't worry, Han. I don't need extra hours to do what others can't manage in days. Efficiency is something you should try sometime after you learn to mind your business. Her smirk wavered just slightly. Victory. Chunguk, still reading, spoke without lifting his eyes. Impressive turnaround, but I need you focused on the expansion projections too. You crossed your arms. Exactly my point. If there is anything else you want me to do, say it now. Otherwise, I'll get back to fixing the foundation of your skyscraper dreams. He finally looked up, sharp gaze, cold stare, expression unreadable. No, you can go. You gave a slight bow, not out of respect, more like formality, and turned to leave. As you passed by Hyun, you noticed the smudged little smile growing on her face, clearly believing she had somehow won whatever imaginary competition she was playing. So you stopped, turned slightly, and winked, a bold, mocking wink that wiped the smirk clean off her face. Try not to stare too hard to my back. It will give you a complex. Then you turned on your heel and walked out with your chin held high, the sound of your heels echoing like a boss battle victory theme. You sank into your office chair with a heavy sigh, tossing the file carelessly onto your desk as you pulled your hair up into a messy bun. Your fingers instinctively reached for the pen tucked behind your ear, flipping open your laptop and resuming your work on the Seoul Elite Tower expansion, the project that had practically become your second life. 2 months, and I have done everything but build the damn tower myself. You muttered to no one but the walls. The silence in your cabin was familiar now. Your usual partner during long nights, intense deadlines, and too many coffees. Your fingers danced quickly over the keyboard as you reviewed financial drafts, logistic forecasts, structural data, and contracts that could make or break Jungkook's next legacy defining move. He had given this project to you, no one else. You, the so called troublemaker of the office. The woman who never sugarcoated her words, but underneath all that sass, you were brilliant, and he knew it. That's why he handed it to you in the first place. He trusts me with billion-dollar projects, but not with basic respect. Cute. You roll your eyes and lean back just as your alarm buzzed sharply beside you. 2 p.m. The meeting with Dejin Corporations, the joint venture partners providing materials and partial funding for the tower build. This wasn't just a status update, this was the meeting that would finalize operational timelines and production schedules. You quickly gathered your documents, neatly clipped your proposal files, and marched toward the meeting room. As you stepped in, your confident stride faltered for half a second when your eyes met Jungkook already seated at the head of the long, polished conference table. As usual, stoic. Composed every inch, the cold CEO who rarely smiled and never softened. And right next to him, like an accessory he didn't ask for, sat Kang Hai, dressed to impress and oozing fake professionalism. She looked far too comfortable in a space she had no real business being in. Her smudge expression met yours instantly. She tilted her head and crossed her legs as if she were some kind of executive queen. You didn't flinch, just raised a brow, took your place, and waited until the attendees settled. The meeting began. You stood switched on the digital projector and launched into your presentation, confident, precise, and articulate. You explain the financial breakdowns, scheduling goals, delivery expectations, and how both companies could streamline production while maximizing investor confidence. Everything was going smooth until. Actually, I think this would be more efficient if you adjusted the supplier tiring like this. She interrupted mid slide, reaching over to your pointer as if she had the authority. You froze, lips parting slightly as your jaw clenched. Thank you, Harvin, but the supplier tiring was discussed directly with the logistics director from Thijin last week. Adjusting it now would cause delays and push back the entire schedule by 3 weeks. You didn't raise your voice, but your tone sliced through the room like glass. Even Jungkook looked up from his tablet at the tension. He said nothing, but you saw the slight movement of his brows. He knew you were right, but he didn't speak, not a word. You took a breath and continued. 5 minutes in, but you forgot the inflation margins on these calculations. I didn't forget, I calculated them at the upcoming quarters, adjusted forecasted rate, not the current one. Because unlike some people, I plan for the future, not the past. A few muffled coughs echoed around the room, disguising quiet chuckles. You finished your presentation with class despite the bitter taste in your mouth. As everyone stood to leave, Jungkook's voice rang out calmly. Why in my office now? You blinked, a little surprised, but nodded stiffly and followed. Inside, you stood across his desk, arms crossed over your chest, watching as he reviewed something silently on his monitor. And then he dropped the bomb. The Soul Elite expansion, I'm handing it over to Hyun. You didn't understand at first. You thought maybe you misheard. Wait, what? You're giving her the project? He didn't even glance at you. She can handle it well. I'll be assuming you something else. Your heart dropped. 2 months, 2 months of blood, sweat, and breakdowns. 2 months of reshaping a vision, coordinating departments, aligning numbers, crafting strategies, even sacrificing your personal weekends to get everything perfect. And just like that, he handed it off like it meant nothing. But I worked on this non-stop for 2 months. I built that project from scratch, Jungkook. You know that. So why now? Because this is business, not sentiment, and my decision is final. Behind you, you hear the softest click of heels, and there she was again, high leaning against the door frame, with a smirk blooming on her glossed lips, as if she were watching the climax of her favorite drama. You stared at her, then at him, and finally smiled. Not a happy smile, the kind of smile that warned storms were coming. Sure, let the lizard have the crown, but don't cry when the empire starts crumbling. You walked past her, stopping just a breath away from her, and whispered sharply without even looking. Try not to trip over my work while you're pretending to improve it. And then you walked out, head high, dignity untouched, fire in your eyes. The next morning, the entire office buzzed with its usual rhythm. Phones ringing, coffee being brewed, keyboards clacking, but something felt off. Something was missing. Correction, someone was missing. For the past year, every morning at 8:55 a.m. sharp, you would knock once and step into Jungkook's office before anyone else did. No greetings from his assistant, no unnecessary plane race, just you walking in with confidence and seeing your signature line. Morning boss, still cold or warming up to humanity today? But today the door stayed shut. The air was quieter, his phone buzzed once, your name on the screen, he stared at it. No answer, he called again. Still nothing, he clenched his jaw. Just then she walked in, Kang Hyun, of course, hair perfectly curled, blouse strategically tied, clutching files she probably didn't even skim through. Good morning, sir. Just wanted to bring the updated budget forecast. Also, I didn't see wine anywhere. Maybe she's finally catching up on beauty sleep. She giggled like she said something clever. He didn't respond, just glanced at the door again. A few minutes passed and then it opened. You stepped in, not in your usual power suits or sleek blazers, but in a black bodycode office dress. Hugging every curve like it was designed for war, hair open, heels tall, and expression unreadable. The silence in the room shifted, the tension snapped. You walked right up to his desk, pulled a cream colored envelope from your purse, and threw it onto the polished wood with a casual flick. He looked at it, then looked at you. What is it? You tilted your head and gave a slow, venom laced smile. Oh, as far as I know, you have eyes, Mr. Jones, but if not, maybe your little pet here can read it for you. Hines stepped forward, the fake gasp reaching out as if the paper had her name on it. Jungkook's hand moved faster. He snatched it up before she could touch it and tore it open with a swift motion. His eyes scanned the page, silence. Then he looked up again. You're resigning? Is this because I reassigned the project? The question was delivered in that same cold, composed tone, like your hard work had not been reduced to ashes under his command yesterday. You laughed, sharp, humorless. Oh, sweet CEO of mine, it's not just about the project, it's about the fact that I gave you 2 months of tireless work. I poured my mind, my sleep, and my weekends into building a strategy that could have made your empire in the sky a global headline. He took a step closer, eyes blazing. And instead of recognizing that, you handed it over to someone who knows more about your coffee preference than construction strategy, someone who spells analytics with a K. Hind gasped behind you. Don't look so offended, Hind. I'm just surprised your lips have not fallen off from all that brown noising you do in here. Jungkook's jaw tightened, but he still said nothing. I tolerated a lot in this company. The late hours, the stress, even your frosty, emotionless CEO act. But what I won't tolerate is disrespect. And yesterday, you didn't just insult my work, you insulted my time, my mind, and my what. You paused, took a breath. So, no, I'm not quitting because of the project. I'm quitting because I refuse to sit in a room where mediocrity is rewarded just because it dressed up in lipstick and fake compliments. You turn toward the door, your heels clicking like punctuation marks behind every word. Just before leaving, you glanced back one last time. Good luck, Mr. Jones. I hope she builds your dream tower. Try not to let it collapse on your bride. You were halfway across the lobby, heels echoing like war drums against the marble floor. Resignation signed and delivered, head held high. Employees stepped aside as you passed, whispers forming like a storm cloud behind you. Is she really leaving? But she was working on the Elite Tower project. She's the only one who ever stood up to the CEO. You didn't stop, you didn't look back. You couldn't. Not when your eyes were burning and your chest ached with betrayal. Just a few more steps and you would be free. Then, wine. You froze, your heart skipped. You heard the heavy thud of expensive shoes hitting the marble at an unusually rushed pace, not calm, not cold, urgent. John Jungkook was running. Before you could react, a firm grip wrapped around your wrist from behind, not harsh. Not painful, just desperate. You turned sharply. He stood there, eyes wide, breathing uneven, hair slightly tousled from how fast he would moved, and for the first time since you'd known him, that emotionless CEO mask was gone. He looked human. Don't go. You blinked, shocked, but not moved. Let go of my hand, Mr. Jones. He didn't. I was wrong. I should have never given that project away. You? Why? You shouldn't have. You cut him off coldly. Your voice was low but razor sharp. But you did, and you didn't even flinch. His grip faltered just slightly. I'll fix it. I'll take it back from her. You can have the project. I'll tell the board. Do I look like some desperate employee hungry for crumbs? Of respect now that you finally noticed your mistake. You stepped closer, your voice steadily calm. Apologize. Don't rebuild burn bridges, Jungkook. You set fire to mine with a smile. He stared at you, eyes silently pleading, but you gently pulled your wrist from his hand. You don't get to hold me back now, not after letting me go so easily yesterday. And just like that, you turned walking out of his life with the same confidence you carried the day you first walked in. He didn't follow this time because deep down he knew he had already lost you.